Welcome back to another media literacy lesson. Today we're continuing with our project. So last time I had you come up with 5 to 10 major problems that we need to try and solve. And I wanted you to be pretty specific about those problems. The reason that we need to do that is because today is the hardest part. Today is coming up with solutions. This isn't going to be easy. This may take you a little bit of time. So, what I want to do is talk you through maybe a couple possible solutions to certain things, and then hopefully that will start getting the idea mill turning. You will want to research these things. The internet is a great place. There's lots of places you could research this. I've left a couple links on today's assignment to help you get started with ideas on how we combat fake news. So, the first thing I want to talk about, and we talked a little bit about this last class, is how do we solve um, the human problem, our identification? I gave you a couple possible ideas last time, but those were just kind of the tip of the iceberg. If you're going to use either of those solutions, right, for your project, what you really want to do is dive in. What would that course look like, right? What would a course on media literacy look like? What would you need to teach? What be specific things you need to teach people about what they would need to know? What would that course look like? If you were going to get people in Hollywood to give a message, what would their message look like, right? It couldn't just be something as simple as, hey, this is Brad Pitt, don't believe fake news. We know that doesn't work. We would need it to be much more comprehensive than that. You'd probably need a complex ad campaign from a national nonprofit company to make something like that work. What would internet regulations look like, right? What would those regulations appear to be? That would be something you need to come up with. One of the things I've seen recommended is that the only way you can get a social media account is through real identification, meaning that you would have to provide actual physical identification to get an account, which would mean you could not get an account with a fake, right? And that's one of the biggest problems. Fake accounts are the biggest problem, right? People creating these accounts with no accountability. The anonymity of the internet and social media allows people to say things with no repercussions. If it's tied back to a real person, people are less likely to do something. You would have to think what will be the repercussions of that. Remember what we've talked about in social media leading up to this point. All the issues with data privacy that have existed with Facebook and to some extent Twitter and to some extent Instagram, since they're owned by Facebook. What does that look like? Is that an option that would be real? Another thing they could look at is you have to pay, right? If you had to pay to be on the social media platform, people are less likely to use it in a way that's just about creating fake accounts. You might not have enough money to create a bunch of fake accounts. That could be another barrier. What will be the drawbacks to that? So these are some things we need to think about when we're doing solutions. It's not just the solution you're coming up with. You want to come up with that, but you want to really look at it. What are my drawbacks? What are things that would be negative about what I'm doing? And how would I address those negative things, right? How would I make sure that this isn't too negative, that people would be willing to do this, even though there are issues and concerns with it? So those are a couple different solution ideas. Now, what you want to do is use research, use your own thoughts, and come up with solutions for those problems. Now, one of the hardest ones might be if you chose to use kind of one of the things I talked about last time was the technology, right? It's hard. You may not be a technical wizard. You're not sure how that technology could be combated. But I want you to think of this, and I don't want to give away too much because I do want you to kind of really do some research here and think about it. But if we can create something that can create a fake, would we not be able to create something that could detect that same fake? Think about that. Think about that. That may be a path to your solution. So, your assignment for today, your lesson for today, if you choose to accept it, is to come up with solutions to those problems that you came up with last lesson. Okay? And this message might self-destruct afterwards. So, get rid of it. It's mission impossible. It's actually not, but it could be. So do these lessons, do this assignment, and we will move on. I will tell you what next part is next